It's time to make sports talk great again with Curt Schilling and Steve Deace.
And greetings. Welcome to We Talk Sports. I am Steve Deace. He is former World Series champion, although he would tell you that once you're a World Series champion, you always are. Future Hall of Famer, that is correct. He is Curt Schilling. Each and every day we put 25 minutes on the clock, get to as many of the day's sports topics as we possibly can. Curt, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, beginning right now. So this was awkward. All right, Kyler Murray. And I don't know why this is so difficult. So this is the Heisman Trophy winner at Oklahoma. He's entered his name into the NFL draft. He was the number 9 pick in last June's MLB draft, about a good full round before anybody predicted. He was given a $4.5 million signing bonus by the A's. However, he doesn't collect it unless he reports to spring training here next week. February 15th is when the A's open up spring training, and that's the date that he has to report. And so he appeared on Dan Patrick. Now, I think this is important. This was him doing this voluntarily to promote Gatorade. Okay. So this wasn't Dan Patrick sought him out, bring him on, and and kind of put a young man in a tough spot. He is doing a promotional tour at the Super Bowl. Yeah. So, I mean, you've got and for a major product line, by the way. So
paid
no doubt. So you got to be a little bit more prepared than what our audience is going to see in this little snippet right here.
Put it right there. Been on the show before. Look at you. Now you're professional. Yeah, professional salesman. How's that NFL football feel? I'm not trying to bait you to make a decision. I just want to know how that felt. It's different than a college football. It needs
to be broken a little bit.
Yeah. All right.
A lot more.
Well, you can do that your rookie year. Wait, are we not going to get along here if I do this? I want to make sure.
Yeah, we can do this.
Okay, all right.
We can do it.
You don't have to make a decision. Are you having fun with this
I'm
at all?
having a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun.
I couldn't tell.
Oh, no, don't worry. I'm having a lot of fun.
Okay, well, let me try this again. Hey, what did you think of that NFL football?
And that scene was repeated after pretty much every question. And at some point, Patrick began to pivot to interviewing his father off camera to try to get answers for his grown man son. Why is it so hard, Curt, just to simply say, you know what, man, you want to talk about having it made, I can't go wrong. I can choose being a first-round pick in the NFL or Major League Baseball. 1% of kids ever gets a chance to be a first-round pick in one of those things. I could be a first-round pick in both of them. And so I think a lot of people would understand why a young man like me wants to make sure I take my time and make the right choice, because there really isn't a wrong one here. Why is that so hard?
Well, a couple things. First of all, I've never seen him interviewed before. I didn't catch this live. I caught snippets of it. I will tell you this: if whatever sport he plays, I would argue he probably might have just cost himself millions and millions of dollars in endorsements.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding.
The Gatorade was pleased with that? No,
no,
it was not.
No. Yeah. And I don't think he was trying to be. He just looked uncomfortable.
Yes.
And you got to understand. I don't think a lot of people understand that there are many people out there who don't find sitting in front of a camera comforting or comfortable at all.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Nope. Here's the job though you probably can't do: starting quarterback in the NFL.
You have to have people around you. If he is shy, I don't think he's shy, and I don't think he's introverted, because he's a quarterback, and those personality traits don't go with a successful quarterback. There's something on hand here, and I do believe there's a camera problem for him, whether it be a phobia, because people have it, or a shyness, but awkward is being very, very kind for what that was.
If you are John Gruden, for example, you're gonna make that guy the face of your franchise. You're gonna make him the number 4 pick in the draft, and you're gonna have a 5'9" mumbling quarterback walk into your huddle of 31-year-old men trying to feed their families, and he's going to command that huddle? I don't see that.
But on the other hand, you're saying here's a guy who's never ever going to get me in trouble in the media. And here I guess is part of an athlete's problem with the media, Steve. If Terrell Owens or Chad Johnson had sat down there and been themselves, he would be roundly mocked the day after that interview for being an idiot. Right?
Yeah.
Where's the it's the story I told you the other day. You can't win for losing. What's your best option? If you're going to get lambasted for being quiet and you're going to get lambasted for talking too much, there's obviously a middle ground, but a lot of people just aren't comfortable doing it.
Well, then don't take a paycheck from Gatorade and do a publicity tour.
But that falls on the people that represent you to know you and not put you in that situation.
Dude, I crushed about 300 sit-ups this morning. I still have a spare tire. So guess what I'm not going to do? Model Speedos, bro. Know what I'm saying? Right. The other day I asked you, as a guy who extended the greatness of his career well into his mid to late 30s, when most guys were slowing down that weren't doing steroids, and was winning, World Series at that age, and you can identify with how Tom Brady is doing it at his. And I asked you, what's the number one trait a Tom Brady has that the average fan wouldn't understand? And you said self-awareness, the understanding of and the realism of knowing here's what I can do and here's what I can't. And don't pretend I'm something that I'm not, and just be great at what I know I can be great at. Right. Yeah. So a little self-awareness might have worked here.
The key thing there is you're talking about athletes in their late 20s, early 30s, late 30s that learned that lesson. I didn't know that at 20. I could do anything at 20. I could beat anybody at 20.
What about asking the dad for his take off camera?
I'll tell you what you're doing. You're putting a whole lot more thought into this than he did.
Okay.
And that in and of itself is the lesson, right? He's gonna, if he has any sense, and his people have any sense, they're gonna look at this and go, "Wow, okay, this." Well,
here's where it could be a mixed blessing, is if he decides, because I told our audience all along, February 15th is the first big day. That's the day he has to report for the A's, okay? And then the next big day is about 2 weeks later with the start of the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. And one whole day of that is going to be nothing but interviews. So if he decides to report to Indianapolis for the Combine, at the very least, him and his people got a dry run in this because this thing went viral and none of the comments were good. So maybe it'll be a bit of a wake-up call that, they've got to show a little bit more in terms of leadership, a little bit more in terms of charisma, because you're going to walk in there and already a lot of guys are going to look at you and say, so you're the smaller, shorter Russell Wilson? How's this going to work? You better have Russell Wilson's presence. You better have his command. Okay, you better be able to command a huddle like Russell Wilson was able to right away. And so I think at the very least, maybe this was a wake-up call for them. Let's switch gears, go to college basketball. And I don't know where this notion the NCAA was just going to look the other way on this college basketball scandal has come from. I've watched this go on, and Yahoo Sports, first of all, we've seen several top recruits now lose their eligibility as a result of this. Okay, so already there's been some action, and now go ahead. What specifically exactly are they losing their eligibility? They're losing their eligibility because they got paid thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars under the table. See, that's a good point. Let's reset this scandal, because it's been about well over a year since it first broke. Because a lot of people are being told by national media people, no names mentioned, Jay Billis, that they're being told, why is the FBI? Why is it investigating NCAA sanctions? And I would think a guy who's a real accomplished lawyer. See, I think Jay knows this. I just think he hates the NCAA, and he's got a lot of good reasons to. And so I just think he's more interested in promoting an anti-NCAA narrative necessarily than getting the facts straight in some cases. The FBI doesn't give a whit about NCAA sanctions, and that's why when you've seen guys plead guilty already, you haven't seen that grand jury testimony or those sorts of things given over to the public. They don't care about NCAA sanctions. What the FBI cares about is a black market. What the FBI cares about is that you are money laundering. You are not reporting income. Because an assistant coach is not going to itemize on a requisition slip to the university, hey, can I get reimbursed the $75K I fronted Brian Bowen's parents so he'll sign with Louisville? Because if he itemizes that on his requisition slip, then who comes in and slams the university? Then the NCAA does, okay? So that's the issue. The issue is that they were lying and concealing and using third parties to money launder, in this case, shoe companies, okay? They were using third parties to launder money to recruits. They created a criminal enterprise conspiracy in order to get around NCAA rules so they could cheat to get players without being caught. In other words, let me put it even more simply. In order to escape the wrath of the NCAA, they broke federal law. All right? That's what they did. Okay.
Well, and how many Division I colleges big colleges are there? I remember you saying a number.
Pretty much every school that recruits one and dones is going to end up somewhere in the crosshairs of this. So by the time and those specifically attached to Adidas, because right now and the highest school on that chain is Kansas, and the NCAA is a coming for them, I believe.
And my interjection was to ask you this. I found it a lot during the steroid era, and I also find it a lot in politics now. When someone is apologizing profusely, are you apologizing for what you did or because you got caught?
You got caught, exactly.
But more importantly, who's naive enough to think that everybody's getting caught on their first attempt?
Well, let's look at Sean Miller here. Okay, so that's the Arizona coach. So his assistant coaches are getting busted. Other guys that used to coach for him that are other schools are getting busted. His guys that he recruited are getting busted. So somehow everybody around Sean Miller is involved in this. Christian Dawkins, who's one of the lead defendants from the feds. And see, the problem is Christian Dawkins has already been found guilty in some other charges. So he's not going to plea bargain now. And so a couple of these trials have been plea bargained, and so we may never know everything that came out, and that the feds found in those trials.
It's going to take one though. Right?
This is the big one. Dawkins is the big one. And since Dawkins has already been found guilty in another one, he has no point to plea bargain here. He's going to go all out for his innocence. And Dawkins is quoted as having said in the past that he basically was a regular guest at Arizona practices. Okay. And there is in Yahoo, it's been really close to this story all along. Pete Thamel, Pat Forty have done some excellent reporting on the story from the very beginning. Their sources are telling them that Christian Dawkins attorneys, they're going to subpoena the Arizona basketball coach, and basically in order to say, hey, I ain't the one. I'm not going out here. I'm not your Huckleberry. You're not throwing me under the bus. Yeah. And I think you will see them come for Kansas as well. We are already seeing big fish at big universities lose players. Kansas has lost one. Louisville's lost one. Auburn's lost a couple. And I think now the next tier of this is we're going to see some of these coaches go down, beginning with that guy, I believe.
And I don't think we're not talking about. I mean, the FBI is involved. This isn't sanctions. This isn't losing tournaments. This is going to federal prison.
Yes. Yeah.
And these, I can't imagine. Like that was always the thing that I think kept me in line. In addition to everything else, was that horror and thought of actually going to. Can you imagine waking up right now knowing that there's no way out for you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just.
The NCAA is going to crack down because it can't lose its power here. If you have a bunch of schools, see, this is the thing to understand. People are saying that they don't want to crack down because the NCAA men's tournament is over 90% of its profit margin to cover its massive operating budget. And I understand why people think that. I think it's actually the opposite is true. And here's why. Because most of these schools aren't able to recruit one and dones. We're really talking about 15 schools out of 350. All right. And so even out of the Power 5 conferences, the schools that have kind of broken away to form their own mini association, only 15 of those 65 schools are really able to recruit these one and dones. Those other schools, if they see the NCAA, if they see the feds fine, Christian Dawkins swears under oath, hey man, I just gave this money directly to Sean Miller and he gave it to so-and-so, DeAndre Ayton, to get him to come to school, and the NCAA looks the other way, those other 50 schools and those Power 5s are good. That's going to be the last straw for them. Yep. And they're going to say, why the hell do we have an NCAA at all? Why are we paying you to do anything? Why do we have any of this bureaucracy at all if you're not going to stop just outright, not even $500 handshakes, man, just outright money laundering. Okay,
if you're going to be more corrupt than the parties you're supposed to overlook,
there's no point in having you there, and we'll just do this ourselves.
Right.
So the NCAA, this is classic bureaucracy 101, guys. The NCAA has to justify its existence. Okay, so do I think Mike Krzyzewski and Duke will get hammered? No. Do I think North Carolina will get hammered? No. But a couple of the big fish will, to make a point. Arizona will get hammered. Kansas will get hammered. A couple of them will get hammered to make a point because the bureaucracy must justify itself. Let's go to what's going on at Florida State. I don't know. I've never seen anything like this. This is a crazy story, all right? So this is Deondre Francois is the now former starting quarterback at Florida State University. This was allegedly an Instagram post by his former girlfriend. And so the story is here. A video was posted on Instagram a few days ago, and it's essentially her being assaulted in real time by Deondre Francois. And right away, Willie Taggart in Florida State, having already been through all the problems with Jameis Winston and everybody else, instantly dismissed him from school. The head of the Senior Bowl came out on Twitter and said in his entire career as an NFL scout, he's never scouted a quarterback that had more behavioral red flags than Deondre Francois, right? No. And so a couple days later, that note we just showed our audience appears on this woman's Instagram, and she takes the whole thing back and says she only did this because she was upset that he broke up with her, and she was a woman scorned, she was trying to get his attention, she's sorry that he destroyed his life. And now the parents are saying that someone hacked their daughter's Instagram account and that she never actually posted that. She wasn't exonerating Deondre Francois whatsoever. This story is absolutely nuts, Curt. Your reaction?
It reads like a bunch of people being bribed or threatened to recant to save this guy's career, which I don't know if it's salvageable based on the comments beforehand. It was a train wreck before this, apparently. Excuse me. But again, this is the kind of thing that makes me wonder where we're at. Why are we talking about his football career, not charges of assault and battery and jail time?
Right.
You know, I mean, screw the football. This is real life stuff. We talked about, and we've heard people talk about, somebody hacked my account. That her response reads either, a proverbial gun to her head to tell people that story, or somebody in his camp hacked the account and made that post. It's terrifying. It's sad. It's pathetic. And in the day of the Me Too movement, the fact that people aren't getting irate over this is bothersome as well.
Maybe they've been involved. I haven't seen anything, but where is the Tallahassee Police Department?
Right. Well, again, what this and I hate to go political. I look at this like I look at the Catholic Church. Why are we talking about like
prosecutions,
sanctions, and internal investigations?
Yeah.
Why are they not being prosecuted to the full extent of the laws that were put in place to stop
it? Doesn't make any sense. Where's the police department? There's a video posted on a worldwide social network of a woman being assaulted. Why wouldn't the authorities look into this and let us know?
Tens of millions of people.
And we saw this at Ohio State last year, where the Powell Police Department originally told Brett McMurphy that they didn't have the arrest report with Zach Smith, and then they were able to produce it redacted, and then they didn't reveal a lot of the files. And then after Urban Meyer retired, they went ahead and did the news dump to show that indeed he was aware of what was going on with Zach and Courtney Smith the entire time. I mean, so I don't know the answer to that.
Thing, Steve, I don't want to get philosophical or deep or anything, but I got to tell you, in the last 6 to 8 months and doing this show with you and the stories that we've found and the things that we've discussed, when you combine it with all the stuff going on with the FBI and the Mueller investigation, all the things that have happened in our political scene that have basically destroyed the trust of the people that are supposed to keep us safe. And you go down and you look at all this college stuff and you realize that, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it feels like there's this giant movement that we can't control, and that this layer of security we have isn't helping, isn't looking out for us.
It's here's the thing. The FBI ignored Nassar warnings. They were warned about what was going on with Larry Nassar years ago, and they ignored that. And I think there's this idea that when you see a culture's values and standards decline amongst the general population.
Yep.
I think we as Americans believe that some of the institutions you just cited will be immune from that. And we forget that the same fallible human will that exists within each of us
Right.
also exist within all those people working in those public institutions. And if anything, they're under even more pressure to succumb to a spirit of the age along those lines because of the power they're given, the funding they're given. They are given even more temptation to succumb to their most basic instincts and primal natures than even people in the general population because they represent those institutions. And that's largely what you're. So I don't believe, like what I said a minute ago, I don't think the NCAA is really interested in cleaning up college basketball. I agree with the cynicism. I even said this on the show the other day. I agree with the cynicism that the NCAA would prefer to look the other way, given this is where it makes all its money and not off of college football, which has its own separate association. Well, I agree with that. The problem is if it's this blatant and there's this much cheating by a few schools and the FBI says it's out in the open and here are the wiretaps, the other schools are going to say to the NCAA, we're cutting you loose if you're worse than these schools, like you said. So I don't believe it's for noble reasons. I think it's purely out of self-survival that the NCAA understands it has to look like it's still relevant. Otherwise, there's no point to it having those massive offices anymore.
It begs the question I've asked recently that I've never really thought to ask myself, but what is more attractive and alluring, power or money?
And the answer is yes.
Yeah, right. It's one or the other for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
There is, and I keep saying the farther away we've gotten from the Bible and the farther away we've gotten from the kitchen table, the farther this country is sinking down this rat hole. And whatever take you want to have on that, it's just when you look at where we were in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up to where we are today, the things that are happening in sports. You've watched the athletes take over some of the professional. They take over. The players run the NBA. I mean,
you saw that with the Lakers last night. I was getting packed up. I got to go to down to the Blaze offices in Dallas for the next couple of days, and I was getting caught up on some of the college basketball games that I missed because of the State of the Union. And I'm watching Sports Center, and they're doing a whole report about LeBron James is sitting 3 seats away from any of his teammates on the Lakers because he doesn't want these guys on his team, and he's basically trying to send a signal that he wants Luke Walton gone and he wants all these trades made. And they talked about Mo Wagner gets run over, one of the Laker players, and by a guy on the other team, and nobody in the Laker team comes over and helps him up or does anything because they think he's getting traded. So what's the point? That kind of goes exactly to what in a way that everybody's an ink, right. Everybody's a brand, nobody's and that kind of goes exactly to what you're talking about. And that's and the great irony of this. See, this is the real reason. The Patriots are not pristine. They've been, the balls were deflated. Regardless, we don't know who did it or why, but that's not debatable. No one debates that the balls were deflated. No one denies that they spied on the Jets. All right, so they are not pristine. The reason why they're hated isn't even because of prolonged success. There's some of that. And I don't think it's because of the cheating thing. You know what I think it really is? I think the reason why they're hated is because when you and I threw up the picture of Brady and Gronk the other day, and we said Gronk is right now the only surefire Hall of Famer that Brady has played with. Because their very first Super Bowl, they were the first that they were in together. 18 years ago, they were the first team that never came out to individual introductions, but came out as a team. Because
everybody loved them.
That the reason why they're hated is the way that they have structured their team on discipline, selflessness, what's Belichick's motto? Do your damn job, okay? Right. Just do your damn job. The way they've structured everything is totally counter to the sports culture, me. It's all about me. It's all about promotion, my brand. LeBron James congratulates himself on Instagram for being great, okay? And I don't want to build a team around myself. I got to go to another team where there's already great players, so, somebody can make me feel good about myself. They violate all we're told the sports culture needs to be today, and that's why they can't stand them.
And their LeBron James is clean, he's a genuine guy. He's a team guy, and that is, and to think that that makes people cringe. I mean, people outside New England, there's like a visceral hatred for this guy, and he's never hit his wife. He's never driven drunk. He's never done drugs. He's never cheated on his I mean, all of the things that we give athletes second chance for, we don't even have to give him any chance because he's never done it.
Nope.
And that makes people mad.
Never claimed the Las Vegas Police Department targeted him because of race, and then we had the video and found out the whole thing was a lie. Yep. Never said he had racist graffiti at his house in L.A., and then the LAPD goes out there and investigates, and there's no racist graffiti. Never did any of that kind of stuff.
Well, the question becomes when do we stand up to the rich and the powerful? Because that in sports, it's a real awkward dynamic. In the owners are not going to get the NBA back. It's not going to happen.
No,
I think the players will destroy it before they get it back.
Really quick, I want to get to this because the next couple of days we're going to focus on spring training very quickly. I warned everybody when we had legalized sports gambling that this was not going to be a big boon for states the way that they thought. And that the best thing they could do was to outsource this to a FanDuel or a national app and then get a fee and not actually do the business directly. All right. New Jersey's Sports Gaming Commission is reporting it lost over $4 million on Super Bowl wagering in its first year of legalization. Vegas is reporting out there, it's the Nevada Sports Gaming Commission is reporting that Vegas cleared about $10 million. Well, Steve, what's the big deal? That's the biggest day of the year. All right. That's the biggest day of the year in Las Vegas, and their profit was for betting, and their profit margin was $10 million. Trust me, they wanted it. They were hoping it was going to be bigger than that. Okay.
Well, but it goes back to the argument you made, right? Which was
too much skill.
But to make a living gambling, you need to win 52, 53%. I mean, what's 10 million out of a billion, right? I mean, that was their margin of victory.
That was their margin of victory. If you look at it. In the Vegas or the Nevada Gaming Commission reported in 2017 when they listed their numbers, if you do the math, Vegas bookmakers, this is the last year before legalization now. So this is before the whole public is now getting involved. Vegas made 300% more profit on penny slots than it did on sports gambling. Yeah. Okay. And so that was before they had, because Nevada doesn't have the same lines as New Jersey and things of that nature. Okay. Right. So I don't think this is going to be the racket that lotteries and slot machines have been for state governments. I don't think they have any clue what they're getting into. They're essentially they're in the stocks and bonds business now.
This is not a game of chance.
No, I don't think they understand that either.
And I mean, if people followed you this year and the things that you were doing, the competitions you were in for, there's a racket. And here's the thing: a lot of these guys aren't allowed or weren't allowed before to get in on Bovada or these online because they get shut out.
Right.
Now they have a venue.
Now you're going to have the major math MIT guys that are helping all the big brokerage houses on Wall Street. They're going to get involved in this now.
Why wouldn't they?
Of course they're going to.
They've already taken over daily fantasy.
Yep. And that's why I think state governments don't understand. I don't think they think this is going to be the big boon I think they thought it was going to be. Yeah. All right, Curt, we'll see you tomorrow. We've got a two-part show, Thursday and Friday, our preview of spring training, pitchers and catchers reporting next week. Stay tuned until then.
There we go.